I think of old-time meetings that they had not long ago, when the church bells rang on Sunday, how everyone would go. They'd pass you on the highway, and you could hear them say, "Oh, come and join us, neighbor, it's meeting time today." More old-time preaching is what we need again. More old-time meetings that we can all join in. We need to hear the gospel, we need to hear them pray. More old-time preaching is what we need today. Sing and shout. You could hear the preacher's voice a-ringing through the house, a-pouring out the gospel to those who lived in sin. Some of that old-time preaching is what we need again. More old-time preaching is what we need again. We need to hear the gospel, we need to hear them pray. More old-time preaching is what we need today. Today things are so different as onward here we go, for they don't have old-time meetings like they did back years ago. And the church is nearly empty when you go in today, for there's so many people from God have gone astray. Old-time preaching is what we need again. We need to hear the gospel, we need to hear them pray. More old-time preaching is what we need today.
I went to church the other night, and I felt somewhat at ease. I thought I was a pretty good guy, and my Lord I'd tried to please. But when the preacher took the floor, my pride all must have fled. After silent prayer, he took his text, and this is what he said. In Revelation 21:8, we find these words, "But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone." My subject for this time is not very pleasant. It's called This Hell-Bound Train. I'm not here to argue with you about religion or fuss with you about your belief. I'm here to tell you about this hell-bound train. Now, the engineer to this train is the devil. The conductor is one of his religious imps, and the passengers are those that follow Satan. I can see this train of deception pulling into the Garden of Eden. The conductor steps from the caboose and says to Eve, "Yea, hath God said." In other words, God said not to ride this train, but really that's not what he meant, because he's a good God. He's too good to let you be destroyed. Eve saw that the train was beautiful, and she desired to take a ride. So she yielded to the voice of Satan, and as a result, Adam and Eve were the first among the fearful and unbelieving to ride this train of death and destruction. I can see this train coming through the antediluvian world. Then on to Sodom and Gomorrah, going on to another stop in Egypt, where Moses stands before Pharaoh, and I hear him say to the king, "Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, let my people go." Old Pharaoh rears back and said, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice?" So atheism forced its way on this deathly train of disaster. This pale monster comes rolling through Babylon to take old Belshazzar and his intoxicated nightclubbers for their last ride. And now we go to Caesarea. Here I can see a well-dressed man with a beautiful woman. Who is that distinguished-looking guy? Oh, that's Governor Felix with his third living wife Drusilla, the one he persuaded to leave her own husband to come and live with him. In front of the two is a prisoner, and yet he doesn't sound like one, for he speaks with a tear in his voice and as one having authority. I hear him say to the governor, "Felix, don't live this way. There's a judgment day coming. Don't ride this train." The trembling governor, not willing to break with sin, wiped a tear from his eye and said, "See you later, Paul." But Felix rode the train of no return. This hell-bound train comes to the station of the abominable. Here I can see Lot's wife, the proud, disobedient wife of a righteous man, and old wicked Jezebel, the painted viper of Israel. Then on to the place of murderers. Here I can see Cain, who slew his brother, Herod, who beheaded John the Baptist. There's old Nero, Mussolini, and Hitler, the killer of millions. All of these become riders on this pale monster of destruction. And now we come to the station of whoremongers. My, what a crowd here. Movie and recording stars, radio and TV stars, sailors, soldiers, and Marines by the scores, businessmen, factory workers, truck drivers, salesmen of all kinds, so-called gospel singers. Well, what do you know? There's a member of one of the famous quartets of our nation. There's a preacher trying to hide himself. Just look at all those high school teenagers. Hell will surely have to be enlarged to make room for all this crowd. This hell-bound monster moves on to the place of sorcerers and idolaters, the devil's religious station. Here I can see the witch of Endor, Simon of Samaria, religious people of all kinds, church leaders, pastors, well-known evangelists who had great revivals, pulling fire down from heaven, casting out devils by the Lord's name. The Bible describes them as false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So we can see that the devil himself is a religious leader. His train may go with this name, train of religion. Go with the crowd. The majority is found to be right, so the deceived passengers fall to his philosophy. Listen, brother, the majority is going in the wrong direction. They're riding this hell-bound train. Look at all those idolaters on this train. The Israelites with the golden calf, those who bowed to the image of Nebuchadnezzar. Look at all those people worshiping their cars, homes, and televisions. They're serving the gods of brass, iron, wood, and stone, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. They're riding this train into outer darkness, where there's weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. This train pulls into the last stop, the station of all liars. Look at the people getting on at this place. There goes King Saul, who lied to the prophet, Ananias and Sapphira, who lied to the apostle. And I can see church members with broken vows to God and the church, husbands and wives who lied to their companions, lawyers who lied in court, and car dealers and customers who lied in trade. Look at all those who lied about their income tax. All these become miserable passengers on this train to perdition, and they shall go away into everlasting punishment, to a lake which burns with fire and brimstone. For the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. I say to all of you scribes and Pharisees and hypocrites, enter ye in at the strait gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way that leadeth to life, and few there be that